Hey, boy, do we need your message.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I've been thinking about it ever since I saw your final project, and we've been really trying to help people build their toolkit of resilience. And you have such a beautiful user-friendly model, and I know it could be a whole series, right? So today is a taster.
Yes, it could be a whole series. Yeah, it's interesting. I've adapted it a little bit for different audiences, but I think this is probably maybe my fifth time,
Hmm.
and I think I'm going to do it again. It seems to be resonating.
Wonderful, wonderful. And uh, when we spoke, it was around the immersion. And so, how have you been doing in this COVID time? And
Yeah, doesn't that feel like a lifetime ago?
it does, yeah,
It's,
it does, yeah.
I think like everyone, faring okay.
Mhm,
Some days worse than others, and some weeks,
mhm,
worse than others. But for the most part, we're so far pretty privileged and in
mm,
our faring of it. My
yeah.
business, I think, has taken a bit of a hit,
Mhm,
to be expected probably in these times, but hanging in there anyway at this point.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Good. And are you are you overseeing any schooling at home? And um,
Yeah, I have teenagers.
mhm,
They were we had put them in a cyber charter thinking that might be a better fit to
mhm,
do online. But that didn't actually work out. So now we're in the process of trying to switch them back to their homeschool where they'll go for 2 days a week
mhm,
and be home for 3 days. So
mhm,
yes, that's been a lot of
mhm.
management.
Yeah. How are
And
they
they
doing?
can, yeah,
Yeah.
they're one is doing okay and one is not doing okay.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
it's, they're definitely need to one definitely needs to be in person and has
Yeah,
that face to face
yeah.
connection with other people, not me.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of our webinars with Dr. Sherry Kelly?
I
She's
don't think I have.
a neuropsych person, and she specializes in teens and families. She's presented a few times for us, and she's a positive psychology coach and neuroscientist. And she, anyway, has been talking about especially the different needs for teenagers at this time. With
I think I did sign up for one and missed something happened and I wasn't able to watch it. And
yeah,
then, the
yeah,
replays are always on a Friday and I
yeah.
lose track of things on Fridays.
Yeah, no, exactly. So if you ever want to see anything where I can connect you, she's in Florida, but everyone's virtual now, and she's a
Yeah.
wonderful resource. Her website is Positivity Teens, and she does a lot of programming and for that, and just an exceptional. But like yourself, we've had great, great people. So Caroline will join us hopefully soon. I have been in touch with her today, and as she has with you, sometimes she's teaching right before this. So what she'll do is just connect with you. Here she is. Da, da, da. There she is. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. I've been having a challenge with Zoom. Did you update your Zoom? Anybody have that
No,
challenge?
no, not yet.
Yeah. So yesterday my Zoom was like all over the place. I couldn't get into meetings, and so I updated it, and then this is the first time I'm getting on. So
Wow, your hair looks fabulous. You have big hair today.
I do have big hair. That was another drama too.
Wow.
Hey,
So
hey,
here's
Shawn.
Shawn,
Hey,
and there you
Shawn.
go.
Hi,
Transfer
it's
complete.
nice to
Yeah,
be here.
transfer
Thank you for
complete.
having me.
Oh gosh, thank you for.
Caroline, Shawn was in the class right before you. Caroline is now in SIP. And
Oh, okay.
so Shawn just graduated, and
I
her final
did.
project was fresh on my mind. So you're going to see pieces of that today.
Oh, fantastic. Um, so Shawn, what would you like to do? You sounds like you had some exciting things that you wanted to.
So I have a PowerPoint that I can just kind of
I
use.
made you a co-host, so go ahead and share your screen.
Let's see, I probably just want to do this one. That. All right. Well, navigation here with all the screens that pop up.
I'm going to make you host for a second. Or Phoebe, can I make you host and then will you make me co-host? I think I might have to go onto a different computer. I'm a little nervous. Shawn, are you plugged into Ethernet or are you on Wi-Fi?
I am on Wi-Fi.
Okay.
I don't typically have problems, so hopefully we won't. I mean, I do Zooms like all day with people.
Okay.
You're not seeing my screen, are you?
Yes, we are. It
Oh,
says
you are?
questions.
Oh, okay. That's what I was wondering because I did not.
But now we're not seeing it.
Yeah, you're not seeing it now.
Yeah.
I want to get rid of this, but I don't know if I can do that. Get out of this. Let me just close some things. That way I don't get confused.
Caroline, anything you need from me? Do you want me to tee up for Thursday at the end and just type
That
in
would be
Lori?
amazing.
Okay.
That would be amazing.
All right. And Shawn has a giveaway. So Shawn, do you want to send it to us or we can also announce it at the end?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll do both and we'll type in your
We're
website.
still taking registrations for the SIP program, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I would like, and I know that we have a code so that if people sign up through it.
So Shawn, as we said in the email, if you want to make this interactive, Caroline is great in terms of reading the chat. I'll type in your questions at any point. You can go on and off screen and slides. So
Okay.
just facilitate it in any way that you want.
You want to do breakout rooms? We can do that.
I don't think I like that view either. Sorry, I'm trying to play with what would be the best view.
Okay.
Oh, that's okay. That's why we're here.
I'm using a different, why doesn't this go away? Every time I open that up. I'm using Canva for my presentation and it's just a little clunky when you go to share.
Oh, all I know is PowerPoint. I'm a Luddite.
Yeah, I don't have.
That's a fixed mindset, but there you go.
But I'm ready. So whenever we go to that, whenever we're ready to screen share, I'll be ready.
Okay, so why don't you go ahead and do a quick screen share so I can just see a little bit about what you're doing. It just floods, it's what we call in NIA flooding. And that helps me prepare.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Do you want me to talk or just kind of flip through?
Flip through. Okay. Ooh, was that on purpose or was that just a glitch?
What?
Wasn't there a slide before this? Huh, okay.
Did you see that one?
I don't think so. Go ahead.
I'm feeling better already, Shawn. I'm just telling you.
Right?
And
It's good stuff. It's good reminders.
you know, the Forever Project has expanded even in the last few months. This is fantastic. Carolyn, I was telling Shawn, this could be a whole series, right? Because each one of these is a whole standalone thing.
Great. I think getting through the PowerPoint is going to take some time, right? So,
well, yeah, I mean, I figured usually I do it with like a lot of interaction and we take time, but I took that kind of out of it to, leave some space for some conversation in the chat, but not a whole lot. So usually it's done in about
how do you usually do it?
I have done it in 90 minutes. I've done it in 20.
Okay, so what's your preference?
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Lunch and Learn call, a series in partnership with the Whole Being Institute. Today, we are going to be talking about 6 strategies for resilient families with Shawn Fink. Even before the COVID-19 pandemic, today's families were facing rising stress, mental health issues, and overwhelm. Families are desperate for tools and strategies to help them cope with everyday stressors of family life, parenting, and now juggling work schedules, health scares, and online learning. Now more than ever, families need to know how to do hard things. During this session, Shawn Fink, a life design coach, will lead you through the 6 foundations of a resilient family. Each of the foundations can be applied to the family unit, parents or children, to help establish resiliency in everyday life routines, ideal for any caregiver, grandparent, or anyone who works with families. Shawn Fink is a life design coach and founder of the Abundant Mama Project. She'll have to tell us more about that. She helps women dig out from the rubble of motherhood, shoulds, and expectations to find their true purpose and passion in life. In her work to help women forge their new creative paths, she helps them cope with the everyday stress that motherhood and family life bring into their lives. She is a mom of twin teenage girls and a writer. In April, she received her certification in the Whole Being Positive Psychology program from the Whole Being Institute. She is a crazy plant lady, which I love. I want to hear more about that too. Loves coffee and long hikes. And she is calling in from Pennsylvania. Shawn, it feels like fall to me. I've got my sweater on, I've got my scarf, I've got my tea, you've got your blanket. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for being on the call.
I'm doing great. I'm excited to use this blanket because I made it. So I don't know, like it brought me joy just to because it's been away all summer. It's been hot here. So I feel excited that I can bring this back out.
I think you need to hold your blanket back up. That's pretty amazing.
I'll show you the best side. I like plants, but I also like birds.
Oh, gorgeous.
That's cute.
Here, I want to spotlight that. Hang on one second.
And the other side is dandelions.
Oh my gosh.
Which is actually my Abundant Mama brand. Has dandelion on it.
Well, an artist as well as a writer.
I don't know about that.
And I think you can claim that one for sure. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how you even got interested in you're a SIP graduate. SIP stands for everyone, Certification in Positive Psychology. How did you even get interested in the Whole Being Institute and the program?
Yeah. So in 2008, 2009, I was working for a politician. This was my 3rd iteration of a career. My girls were about 3, and I had actually been a journalist for a decade prior to that. And a politician, he's a great guy, he's a good friend, but there was this feeling inside of me that was wait, what are you doing? You're supposed to be the person behind the podium. You're supposed to be the person lighting up the stage. And here I was behind the scenes making him look good. And there was just something really off and out of alignment for me. And at the time, having an online business was very, very possible. And so I started writing and blogging, and I started like teaching people what I knew, which at the time was being a mom and being mindful, and just trying to survive every day. And it caught on, and it became very popular, and it eventually I started under the name the Abundant Mama Project. And what I was teaching all along, with no background in anything official, was how to be resilient, how to be mindful, how to be peaceful, how to find the good in what can sometimes feel like is impossible when you're raising little kids. And so the Abundant Mama Project has had like e-courses and coaching and programs and along the way. And at some point a couple of years ago, I started to get to a point where I'm like, wait, something more needs to happen for me. Like, I feel like I need more. I want to do more. I want to serve more. And so I just started looking around for different programs, and I literally stumbled upon Whole Being Institute and positive psychology. And I was like, wait, this is what I've already been teaching people. So I felt like it was a really good natural fit that would give me additional tools to use to work with my clients, to help myself, especially as a mom. And I think I use positive psychology more with my kids than I do with my clients. I'm constantly like, well, listen, we could do this. And they roll their eyes a lot.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love
so
that.
I think that it felt really like the right fit at the right time. So I'm really glad that I did it, and I'm glad that I graduated and put the hard work in.
Well, I'm in the training program right now, and I'm just enjoying it. It's one of the best things I've ever done. It's similar to you. I feel like I've been doing this sort of in my teaching and naturally, but I'm fascinated that there's actual science behind it. And it's really reinforcing and helping me ground my philosophy and my tools and my way of working. And I'm finding it's helping me take care of me a little bit more. I don't know, we've got some SIP graduates on the call. You guys can raise your hands if you feel like that's the case for you too. And just want everyone to know that there is another SIP course coming up. It's, I think it's twice a year. And so they are enrolling now for people for the next course, which I believe begins in January. Phoebe who's monitoring our chat, can tell us a little bit more about that. And there's actually a code. If you go through the JCC, you can register. The Whole Being Institute is one of our partners. She's going to put in the dates for that. I am just fascinated by this idea of sort of reinventing yourself, and you must have bravery in one of your top strengths. Or hope, or what?
Interestingly enough, no. I have honesty, appreciation of beauty, zest, spirituality, and perspective. Mm-hmm. But bravery is definitely high for me. I think it's in the, it's not in the bottom low. And it's definitely my favorite work to do with women. And actually, SIP and the authenticity piece is, I wish that, we could even expand on more of that, because that's just my favorite topic, helping people figure out what it is that makes them worthy. Which, I think that's what I've really figured out the most working with SIP, and then again with Maria on her authenticity piece. But yeah, I am fair. I would not say I'm the bravest. I would say I have work to do, but other people would look at me and go, wow, look at all that she's done, and she's brave, and it's all relative, right?
Right. Well, absolutely. And I think that the reason I brought that up, and I kind of wanted to start with that, is that whether we're looking at your work from the family perspective, the family unit perspective, or we're looking at it as a single person that's wanting to sort of look at reinventing their life in this time of COVID-19, these tools really do apply. And I'm excited I've seen your PowerPoint, I'm excited to jump into it and for you to give us some context. So should we jump right in?
Yeah, I just want to add that I have actually adapted this same exact program for business owners, for leaders, I'm going into a banking institution, actually it'll be my second banking institution, to work with women leaders there on the same concepts, many of whom are working moms, but not all of them. And these are definitely things that anyone, I was trying to pitch it to a bunch of realtors. I would love to do this for realtors who live with uncertainty. As a business owner, I know that it's scary out there trying to figure out how you're going to pay your bills. So I really think that, you know, this work applies, this foundation applies to everything and everyone. And I'm happy to get started whenever you want me to.
Yeah, let's do it. Share your PowerPoint. Let's go.
I'm always a little clunky on the starting of the PowerPoint, so bear with me.
No worries.
Hopefully it goes well. All right, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So as you know, this is 6 Strategies for Resilient Families, and I am Shawn Fink. And today I am going to share with you the 6 strategies, the 6 foundations of a resilient family. And this was my project when I went through the SIP certification program. And it's so interesting that I chose this topic well before the pandemic hit. So I felt really like trendy when the work became more applicable and more needed than ever, and prepared actually myself. So that's what I hope that you'll get from today, at least to know the 6 strategies and maybe a couple of, at least one tool under each of them. And then hopefully some way for you to apply it in your life, or even pass along to somebody that you know. You already got my bio, so I don't need to say a whole lot here. I just do want to kind of define a little bit about who I was and who I am now, because I've worked with families. That's been the bulk of my work, and I primarily work with mothers because that's just how I built my community. But my work now is less family wellness and more about really empowering moms and women to live out their best selves and their best life. And in order to do that, they really need to understand how to be resilient when setbacks happen. In my own life, I've noticed those patterns of hitting the hard moments and wanting to quit and wanting to give myself a break and not push myself. But I know that when I push through and do hard things, I am better for it. In fact, I have never regretted doing the most scariest things of my life. So we need to be resilient, and it's really good work. And there's so many strategies that we can use. I am now focusing more on career and authenticity in my coaching work, because that is really what I gained the most from my SIP experience, is how can I be my best self and my most authentic self? In other words, how can I be me? Which is now where I'm trying to maybe kind of steering away from the Abundant Mama project and stepping out into the light as myself, as Shawn Fink. And that's just been my personal journey. So I'm curious here, and I'm going to stop the screen share to read the chat. I would like to know who you are in the audience and what it is, how you're going to be able to use this information here today, whether it be for yourself. Is it going to be with a family member? Is it going to be through your work? I'm just kind of curious, just to kind of get a gauge for, if you could just type into the chat how you think you'll share this work.
Great. So everyone, how you think you'll share this work. And again, after hearing your story, Shawn, I think bravery might have moved up in your top strengths.
I think those strengths kind of vary on your day, right? Your mood when you take the test.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we got a couple of new messages.
Elaine?
Who's on the call? Has
already requested that I come back and talk about authenticity.
Yeah. Elena says, hoping to use for my family, husband, and little kids, but also at work for myself and my colleagues. Susie says, personally for self and family. And anyone else? Oh, here we go. There's some more. I will share work both personally and in my work as a mentor from Nancy, from Adrian, same as Ilana, my husband and sons, Joanne Edgar, for myself, but would love to be more brave at work and with family and friends. Ellen, being empowered, my authentic self and best self tools will be a gift. Lisa says, I'll try to hold it in my heart and let it come out with those who need some goodies. Nice. And Marcy, both personally for myself and my family, as well as working with children. And Christine, self and my daughter and her family. Nice,
Beautiful.
everyone. Thank you for your shares.
Thank you. Excellent. Go back here to our screen share. There we go. Okay, so why resilience? That is the big question. That's what we're here for. That was the topic of my project because I was really interested in the topic of resilience because in my experience with families, at the time especially, so many, in fact, even to this day, so many of my friends in my network struggling with challenges beyond challenges. You know, I just held a call for clients last week, and then in my own circle of friends, I know people who are navigating serious eating disorders with their children, serious mental health issues with their children. Just in the town over from me, a young man with autism was murdered. And it's all because he was acting out. And there's just such heaviness in our family units with regard to relationships or mental health and stress. Just, you know, their husband lost their job. They are worried they're going to lose their job. There's just the never-ending workload, the never-ending to-do list. And all of this has just created an immense amount of heaviness in our communities. And I wanted to know, I really was curious, and I was so thankful that I was able to come up with a formula. What can we do on an everyday basis to create more resilience? Is it even possible? And of course, you know, if you go through SIP and you look into positive psychology, you learn, of course, you can build resilience. And so that's what we're here really to talk about. So what is resilience? So the APA says that it's defined as the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress, which you could add 2020 in there, right? Just throw and 2020, such as family and relationship problems, health problems, workplace, and financial stressors. As much as resilience involves bouncing back from these difficult experiences, it can also involve profound personal growth. Which is why I decided to come up with my own kind of personal resilience definition, because I really wanted to know how I was going to use resilience for me and with my clients. So I decided that resilience is a wellspring of strength that we can draw upon in times of need to prevent us from falling apart and losing our way. And that was what I was seeing with a lot of my clients. They felt like they were falling apart whenever major stress or even small stress would come into their lives on a more regular basis. And we don't want that, right? We don't want to fall apart when things get hard. We want to stay strong. We want to be able to stay on our path, stay on our journey, and we can't let every little mound and big mound of stress derail us from living our best lives. So as I learned in my research, there are actually many ways to boost our resilience. Sorry, there's a loud, that guy on the motorcycle goes by every day. Sorry if you hear that. So every family unit consists, and I see this in my own home every day, conflict, struggles, relationship challenges. And so today I'm going to share these 6 strategies that can really help to cultivate resilience in the family unit. The idea is to bounce forward, not back from the big and small stressors of our lives. And just so you know, I can't see the chat, so if you need me to do something differently, please let me know in verbal.
You bet. You're doing great.
Okay, great. So number one strategy is to use strengths-empowered parenting. And I loved when this came to me in my research. As somebody who is, my number two strength is appreciation of beauty and excellence, I will fully admit that I have very high expectations of myself, of my kids, of my family. So, you know, those people tend to run on the criticism side of things. And when I realized that I could be using my strengths to parent differently, or that I could draw upon my kids' strengths in how I was relating to them, it was a really big game changer. And so that is the first strategy that we can use in our family units, our marriages, our partnerships, but even also at work, if you are struggling at work, to make it relevant for those of you who don't have kids. When we relate to each other through our strengths, and when we relate to ourselves through our strengths, right? I'm able to identify now, thanks to my research and to Seb, that I am, you know, maybe not quite yet a recovering perfectionist, somebody who really does strive for excellence and expects others to do that. And now that I know that about myself, it's easier for me to pull back and really look at the perspective of this, that maybe I'm being a little too hard on people. I haven't said I've mastered this yet, but I'm really working on it. So this is definitely one of the game changers for me. And so, you know, a good example of, well, actually, here's a funny story about this whole thing. So I was really excited to know what everybody in my family's strengths were. And so I had everybody take the test, my teenagers included, and my husband. And I was like, all right, I can't wait to see what everybody else's top strengths are so that I can really start to use this, you know, in our relationships. And as it turns out, all three of them have humor as their top strength. So in other words, their silliness and crazy behavior that annoys me all the time is completely in their wheelhouse. It's exactly what they are, you know, supposed to be doing. And yet humor for me is super low. I don't remember where it is, but it's really not high. So even though I like to laugh, I like to have fun, I think I'm pretty funny at times, humor is definitely not a strength of mine. But now knowing that that is their strengths, every single one of them, I'm completely surrounded by humorous individuals, that helps me to understand them. It helps me to relate to them better. It helps me to remember how maybe I need to use more humor and play in my parenting approach, as opposed to my perfectionism and striving for excellence dynamic. And so it's been, for me, it's been really helpful, and I've been using this with some of my clients as well. So especially in their parenting style, how can you bring your strength to the table, and how can you recognize when you're overusing that strength, which is certainly what I had been doing with my appreciation for beauty and excellence, until I started to recognize that that's maybe not the best way to use that strength, to pull back on it. So I'm curious, and I'll stop the screen share here. What strength can you use that you have, for those of you who know your strengths? And if you don't know your strengths, one of the, a great tip that I found thinking about strengths is think about something that you could do all day without, you know, just joyfully. That's often a place of where your strengths are. So I'd like to know what strength you can use to apply in your parenting, or maybe your marriage, or any other relationship that you have going on where you might need a little boost.
Well, I know for sure that I'm using my hope as one of my top strengths. So, you know, when we were recently went to Denver for a wedding, and when we got into the car, I said, oh, let me just do an early check-in. And I found out that I didn't have a reservation for the hotel. And I, of course, went into a little bit of fear, because we know that hope, but then I was like, well, what can I do about that? right into action, was very activated about it. And I said, well, it's COVID. Maybe there's not that many people that are in the hotel. And sure enough, I got the last room, right? But I was calm about it. I just helped. So that was one of the ways in those kind of emergency situations, you know. I don't know what happened to my original reservation. I had made it in last December, but it had disappeared. So here are some of the top strengths that we're looking at. Let's see. Christine said, self and my daughter and her family. What strengths will you use? Oh, gratitude. Ellen says gratitude. Nancy, compassion. Adrienne, love and self-regulation. Yennefer says curiosity, perseverance, and creativity.
Perfect. Excellent. Yeah, those are all, I can't, self-regulation and parenting, excellent. I'm impressed that that's a top skill. Good for you. I think I actually have really good self-regulation, but I ranked really low on it. So I was a little confused by that one. Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. So I want to make sure we're staying on track for our timing. Our strategy number 2, thriving in positivity. And this is, if anybody has ever been around complaining children, this is definitely one of those strategies that is super helpful and has been really, this is another really game changer for me when I went through SIP, is that realizing that there is many ways, many ways that we can use positivity, not in a toxic positivity way, not in a fake kind of forceful way, because that I am highly against all of that kind of, forced upon positivity, but that there is ways that we can actually create positive emotions in our lives. And that was like, whoa, like this is crazy. I didn't even realize we could do that. So that's been a great, oh my gosh, that completely has transformed how I work with my clients, how I work with my kids. When we live in, negative bias, when we live in a world where everybody is telling us everything is awful, it is work to stay positive right now. It is really work to stay positive in 2020. And yet there are skills, there are things that we can do on a regular basis. And here's how I knew that SIP and positive psychology was exactly what I needed in my life, is that I had been teaching and really kind of pushing gratitude with all of my family clients. And it started for me in 2000, it started for me in 2010. Before I really got into my work, actually, I hadn't started my business or my coaching work at all at that point, but I had read a book called Simple Abundance. And I didn't get very far in the whole book, but I read the first couple of chapters or, days. And the very first thing that you do in that book is you start a gratitude journal. And I thought, oh, this is a good idea. I think I'll start a gratitude journal. And so here we are in 2020, and I am in my 10th volume of gratitude journals. And I have had classes, I've taught women how to start a true felt sense gratitude practice that includes journaling. And this has been something I've been known for in my work for a really long time, well, for, 8 years. And so when I learned that gratitude is one of the positive emotions that we can be fostering, that was not new to me. But for a lot of people, gratitude is such a game changer for them. In fact, I'm running my sort of foundational course right now, and that's what keeps coming up with the new students. They're like, oh, practicing gratitude has really helped me shift my perspective. I actually get to the end of the day and I'm grateful for what unfolded instead of focusing on all the negatives that happened. There's lots of positivity that we can foster with our kids, with our families and our marriages. One that I'm currently working on is that humor and amusement portion, that piece of the pie that is sort of missing for me. And I'm trying so hard to bring in humor and laughter on a regular basis, not even just for my family unit, but for my health. I found that if I keep things less serious, I feel healthier. I encounter less health issues. And so that's just been one that I'm really trying to work on. And so I'm not going to look at the chat, but it would be great for you to, actually, let's go ahead and we'll stop share. I like to look at the chat and what people are talking about. So yeah, thank you for sharing the positive emotions, the 10 of those are really beautiful. And so, yeah, what are you guys grateful for right now? Is there any, like for today, if you could look at your day, what is one thing that you're feeling grateful for? And I'll share mine really quickly because I haven't had a chance to really share this. I'm really grateful. This week, I bought a new car. Well, we bought a new car for me. My last new car was in 2008. And it was a 2006, was it 2006? It was a very old car. It's a very old car that I've had. And so I'm really excited that I have this new, beautiful, fancy gadgets. I mean, it has all the things. And I'm feeling really grateful to have that right now.
We've got the beginning of fall. Beautiful, cool morning from Elena. My son can keep his kidney. Wow, Marcy, that's amazing. Ellen says, having coffee with friends outside, socially distancing. Adrienne, so grateful to have had this hour free so I could attend this webinar. Yeah. Joanne says, cellular data because all internet systems down in my neighborhood. Wow. Yeah, Nancy, clear, crisp air. Yeah, with so many fires, so many parts of the country dealing and managing fire and air. It's nice to have clean air. Jennifer, I'm grateful for my capacity of breathing by myself. I'm grateful for technology to connect with my children who live abroad. Yeah. Susie said, my mother had a successful surgery this morning. Fantastic. This is a lot to be grateful for.
Beautiful. That is some really good stuff. Excellent. And it does feel, I always tell my clients, and this is so true, if you get really angry at your kids or your partner, if you focus on gratitude in that moment, you cannot be grateful and angry at the same time. It's really not. I've experimented with it. And it doesn't mean that you can't be angry about things that have happened in the past, but in that moment, you will not feel angry. And that's a really great respite in a busy day.
So unpack that for us for a moment. Does that mean like you're going to have that moment, you have that angry moment where you want to lash out and you want to, I call it, what do they say, if you throw fire, you both get burned because you're holding it and you're throwing it at the same time? Mm-hmm. It might feel good to let it go, but you look in your hand and it's like, ugh. So you're saying that like if I feel that in that moment, if I switch to what I'm grateful for, it'll give me the pause?
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, one of the tools that I give my clients is the pause, and it's a gratitude pause. It's not just pause and do nothing, although we need lots of those in our days as moms. But it's literally stopping to pause, maybe stepping outside, looking at the sky, and just taking in your life or what is good in that moment that you can infuse yourself with, because it's powerful when you remember to do it. And it gives space. It's that 90 seconds of space that we need, between stimulus and reaction. So if we can just take that step back and infuse with positivity as opposed to negativity, we will then go back and handle things maybe a little differently, if not a lot differently.
Beautiful. Thanks.
I don't think I handled that right. I don't think that was the right one. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So the third strategy is reaching out and up. And when I was doing my research for this project, I met with Marissa, and she was so great. And I told her all that I had, and she was like, "That's really, really great." She goes, "But you're missing something." And I was like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, you're missing the reaching out. And that was no shock to me, because my whole life reaching out has been very difficult. It has been probably the one skill I wish I'd gotten good at and didn't. Even now I'm way better, but still really have a lot of growth in this area. Reaching out for help and getting support has been very difficult for me, and I know it's very hard for other very strong women. And so this is a resilience tool, and it's so interesting. I was struggling with some things recently, just feeling confused and stuck and overwhelmed with some things in my work. And I thought, oh, maybe I should hire somebody. And so I reached out, looking at coaches, and I thought maybe I should get a coach. No, I don't want to spend the money on the coach. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and invest in the coach. And I did. And the second that I did that, my whole body just literally just dropped. The heaviness just melted away. I was no longer dealing with this all on my own. I was able to get support. And I was able to say, you know what, I don't need to deal with this today. I can focus on this on Friday with my coach. And it was just like evidence to me that reaching out and getting support, like really resource support, is so worth our time and our energy. And recently too, I started to find, because I don't have a lot of close friends. I have a couple of good friends, but I don't have a lot of people I can confide to. But when I was young as a mom, I had no one. And so I've really worked hard to get to this place of reaching out and reaching up. And I'm really trying to stress a lot of this with my clients, that you cannot and don't feel like you should ever have to do any of this alone, that you are never to think that you've got all the answers. And so reaching out and up is a resiliency skill. And it's also one that we can teach our kids when they're struggling. I keep trying to push this with my one daughter who gets very overwhelmed, and she'll just completely break down. And I'll say to her, all you have to do is ask for help and we will help you. But it isn't our first go-to as human beings. And I don't know, it's just something that we tend to do, some of us tend to do last, but it really is a powerful tool. So I'm not going to do a screen share, but just as you know, as we think about this, I want to make sure I'm watching my time here. Make sure you're thinking about who you can go to for unconditional support. You want somebody who's more resourced than you. And I'll just add this, that a lot of my clients will say, oh, I go to my husband. And I'll say, well, how's that working for you? And then they'll say, well, he doesn't really listen, or he seems a little distracted, or he didn't really give me the feedback that I was looking for. And the reason is especially right now, our partners are under an immense amount of stress too. So we can't really rely on them to be who we need them to be when we have our own big issues that we want to go to somebody about. And so while they may be sort of the convenient choice, they're not always the best choice. And so I think that the resilience skill here is really choosing someone who has the space, who has the bandwidth to hold space for you and to really guide you and give you that support that you need. So make sure you're thinking about those people. And it can be a therapist, it can be a really good friend or a relative that you know of that has the skills and the resources to hold space for you. Maybe it's a coach, like I said, or it could be a mentor at work, or a mentor in your community or network. I have a lot of colleagues that I can go to when I'm really struggling. People in my industry, another coach that were just friends. So think about who you can go to and how you can go to them and start to build those networks. Strategy number 4, being open-minded. And I thought this was funny when I learned about this during my research, because I've talked for years in my community and in my work on the concept of being bendy. I am not very bendy as a rule. So being open mind is a practice for me. And I have a kid who's also, actually I have two kids now, I think, who are also not super bendy. And so we are constantly working to be flexible in our house. And even my partner, you know, like he's got his ways, I've got mine ways. And so this has been a large part of my work, and it is a positive psychology tool. It's a resiliency tool as well. And how this shows up in our families so that we can be more resilient is looking at a stress situation like right now. I mean, the list is really long around the stressors of what is happening right now. But, you know, distance learning at home, the stressors of, you know, job loss, looking at these situations with an open mind, with a perspective that says, okay, you know, this isn't great, this is not good, or maybe it's even bad. And which is, you know, a concept that we learn about in positive psychology. And there is more to this. And that was, I love this work. This is, as a coach, this is my, you know, my favorite work to do with women, because it helps you to expand your thinking and to really start to see things from a different perspective. And you've probably had this question before, but I like to really focus on it on a regular basis, because all the time now we're seeing the struggles and some good things happening of what is happening because of the pandemic. So in the chat, go ahead and share one good thing that has happened for you or your family during the pandemic, or maybe just something that you've noticed in the world.
Well, for me, certainly I've gotten the opportunity to moderate these lunch and learn calls. I've been introduced to the Whole Being Institute and Megan McDonough, and had the opportunity to work with Phoebe in a deeper way and connect with our community. At the JCC, we didn't even have a Zoom call before. We had never had a single Zoom call before the pandemic. So we learned a whole new skill set. And let's see what everybody else is saying too. We've got, let's see, my children have learned to play together and work together, solving problems together. That's amazing. One good thing you've experienced during this time: slower pace, more time with family. Yeah, Susie said that. Ellen, time to work with my husband on our garden. Wow, that sounds nice. Feeling connected and more compassion. Oh, the chat's just popping. Cooking at home more. Husband is working from home and has no commute. More involved in children's learning activities. Beautiful. My mom would always show us how when you are young, the skin on your hand goes back quickly when pulled together, and as you get older, not so. She called it the elasticity test and told us to be flexible. Oh, that's a beautiful memory, right? Sharon says the support of Lunch and Learn. Great. Remembering how much we love our home and how much comfort it brings us. Yeah. Finding more interests, and it's okay to be alone, Ellen says. Yeah, nice. Beautiful, everyone. Thank you for your shares.
Thank you. Yeah, those are beautiful. Wow. Very powerful stuff. So we have two more strategies. This one, nurturing yourselves, is the one I'm probably most known for in my community and my clients. Self-care strategies is sort of my wheelhouse and has been. I've been teaching busy moms who don't have any time how to care for themselves for years. This is a resilient strategy. I mean, it makes complete sense. You've heard the saying, you know, put on your own oxygen mask first. You can't really help others when you aren't able to feel good, and you're not, if you're just tired or weak or feeling out of sorts or depressed. I mean, all of these things that impact you make it very difficult for you to show up big for others. And so, you know, a large part of the resilience strategy here is just prioritizing your own wellness, making sure that you feel good, making sure that you're taking really excellent care of yourself. And if you are in SIP and you did the SPIRE, if you practice the SPIRE technique, you know, you're really working on keeping your wellness up. I have a self-care wheel, kind of on Spire, but kind of also on some other wellness work that I've been familiar with over the years and that I know work really well for women. So I'll have a link for you if you want to download that. It'll help you really just kind of prioritize your overall wellness, which I think is really important, especially right now, but it's always been important. I always tell my clients, mothers have been preparing for 2020 for a very long time. We know how to do hard things, and learning how to care for ourselves finally in a way that builds us up is really super important. And so again, I'm not going to, let's see, 12, well, we do have time. So why don't we just, I will keep talking a little bit about self-care in the next, no, actually, why don't we go ahead and stop share, and you can share how you're taking care of yourself for self-care practice. I would hope that many people here who are familiar with Spire are already kind of familiar with what works, but if not, we can talk about, if you don't have anything, let me know. How about that? Because we need to have a different conversation. So yeah, so what is your self-care, your go-to self-care practice, Caroline?
Yeah, well, I've been recently inspired by this idea of bookending. So having a practice in the morning, a way that I start, whether it's just in the morning, I usually start with a little body gratitude, which is from my Nia practice. Just thank you, body, and go right through, like a body scan, all the way through my body, and move it and just get in my body before I even step off the bed. And that just connects me with myself. And then at the end, the practice of what's one good thing that happened today, right? So those are my bookends, and that I found has been really helpful to begin with, awareness of my body and connecting in and love and appreciation, and then to end with what's one good thing that has happened today.
Beautiful. I love that. I also believe in the book ending, so that is lovely.
And something you said, it reminded me of what, in the asking for help, it reminded me of what Maria Serwa said. No one should be in the dark cave of fear by themselves, right? That who needs to be in the dark alone, right? So really reaching out and how important that is. Mm-hmm. Let's see what we've got here. Let's see. What self-care practice? Lisa says, I haven't done that well. I'm good at taking care of others, not so much of me. Yeah, I understand that one. Thank you for sharing, Lisa. Susie says to get outside and do some form of exercise. Elena says daily meditation, even just 1 minute. Ellen says check in on Spire and morning rituals of meditation and stretching and gratitude journaling. Wow, that sounds great. Nancy, committing time for online yoga sessions and walking outside. Adrienne says love bookending. Oh, I've added a hip opening yoga practice to my workout routine every day. It's an extra 20 minutes, but it's a non-negotiable for me right now. Great. And Jennifer says meditation, journaling, walking, savoring, and mindful calligraphy. Joanne says, taking my breakfast to the park. How nice. But going back to what Lisa was saying, it's not uncommon, is it, to be better at, especially for us women, to be better at taking care of others than ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. It is not uncommon. And it takes a lot of work to break that pattern that we're used to, and especially thinking that we need to do that. We need to take care of everybody else. Like, it's urgent. And once we shift out of that mindset and start to see that we actually are better people when we take care of ourselves first, or make time for ourselves at least, then we start to see the value of it. But yeah, a lot of people who come to me initially, they'll say, I don't even, not only do they not take the time, they don't know what to do that's going to feel good. And I think that takes work and experimentation to find like what really lights you up. Like, I love your body gratitude practice. That sounds beautiful. Playing with things like that, you just try it on and you see, okay, this sounds this feels good. And then it might go try something new.
And the feedback loop is different, isn't it? In other words, when I'm doing something for someone else, I get feedback from them, and then I feel appreciated. But the feedback from myself, when I do something for myself, it's much subtler. It's almost deeper inside my body. I think for me, when I was learning how to take care of myself versus first or along with taking care of myself as well as others, I just had to get used to a different sensation of feedback, because I was used to some accolades or some, confidence boosting or whatever you might want to call it, just positive reinforcement from the outside. And, helping others was more stimulating in a way than helping myself. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I think it's called approval addiction.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. And it's a thing, like women want approval. They want somebody to say, oh, wow, look at what a great job you're doing. Some people will come, they'll say to me, I'm trying to think how to word this. I've had clients who don't like when their partners or somebody else says something to them. Oh gosh. Well, basically my point is this, that often what we want is not really approval, but empathy. That we want somebody to look at our lives and go, hey, look at all that I'm doing. And look at all that I'm holding up and carrying. And we want somebody to see that from us. But but we don't know that. We just know that we just want people to say something. So we just keep doing things. But once we know that what we are really looking for is appreciation of self, then we have to give that to ourselves. We can give ourselves all the best approval and appreciation because we know what we want to hear. Right?
Absolutely. And it reminds me of Kristen Neff's work in self-compassion. It's like, I don't know if she talks about, what did you call it? Approval addiction?
Approval addiction.
But
I don't know if she does.
But in a way, self-compassion and giving yourself the nurturing that you need, right? And the empathy that you need sort of takes care of that. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I the work that I do with women in coaching, I call it mothering yourself, because sometimes we have to do what we're doing for our kids, for ourselves. And so a lot of the work that I do it's self-compassion, it's self-nurturing. But sometimes mothering yourself is like, hey, yeah, you are going to do this today, right? Like you are going to take care of yourself today, like you said you would. You got to get that tone, right? You got to get the mom tone.
Right. You can even use your middle name, Caroline Ann Mary. We're going to go outside today.
Yes. Exactly.
Right, that tone. I know you have, are we on 4 or 5? I know you have
I think we have one more.
Okay.
Yep. Let me get back here. Share my screen. Okay, yes, we have the final strategy, grow forward with growth mindset. And, this is where 2020 really kind of shines. It's like, hey, wait, we've never been through this before. And so we're all in growth mindset right now. And when it first started to unfold, we didn't know what this was. We didn't know if we could handle it. There was a lot of, crying. There was a lot of exhaustion. And now look at us. We're, yes, we're still tired, but we're stronger. We're starting to handle that collective anxiety and that collective anger a little bit easier. So we can look at growth mindset in the family the same. Like when, great example of how we can use this in the family unit that I've used. My daughter in the spring was struggling greatly with her Spanish class online. And she was just like, I don't know how to do this Spanish. I don't know how, I can't speak it. I can't do what she's asking me to do. And I'm like, listen, you've never spoken Spanish before. You speak English. Of course, this is hard. You've never done it before, but the more you practice, the more you keep showing up and learning it, the better you're going to get. And eventually you will be able to say, oh, I know how to do this now. And so I think, learning a language is a great example of, just growth mindset. baby steps, one word at a time, one phrase at a time, one sentence at a time, one paragraph at a time. And that's kind of what everything requires of us. We don't know what we don't know until we know it, right? To be like completely zen about it. But growth mindset that we can use as a parent right now. I don't know how to online learn with my kids and keep them going on path and take care of my business and my clients and myself. I don't know how to do all of this well. So I'm not doing it all very well yet, but I know that I'm going to figure this out day by day, hour by hour. I'm going to figure out how to get through, and I'm hoping on the other side I'm going to be stronger because of it. And so helping ourselves, helping our kids have a growth mindset that says, I don't have all the answers. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm not going to give up. I'm not quitting. And I think that this year of all years is the year that we really need to know that. That we need to realize that we are going to actually be much stronger. So I would love to know from you, from this perspective, if you were going to be just 1% more resilient in 2020, what will you start to do? Given all these strategies that we've just put into place, what strategy is speaking to you that I've talked about here today that you know that if you did it even just 1% more, you would be more resilient? You could just share that in the chat. Thank you.
Well, I think that this idea of continuing what I'm doing, which is self-care, and looking and exploring more about this approval addiction, right? I love that. Will be, it already is. I used to call myself a do-gooder gone rogue, right? And then now I'm like definitely walk my talk, and I'm really crystal clear with my eating and my exercise and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of fun to look at how much I've grown. And then the other thing, as a recovering perfectionist, as people are, I'm just waiting. I'm killing time. So to give you guys some time to write in the chat. So come on. Write up, answer that question. One of the things that I say to myself, especially when I'm learning to do something, is like, do it badly. Just get it done. Like, just get something on the page. Just get something, learn that dance step. Just do it badly. It's okay, and then that seems to lighten up the mood. Do you find that that's a strategy that you ever use?
I wish you could see my keyboard, because I have a little sticker on it that I've written on that says done is better than perfect.
All right, so we're on to something.
Yeah, totally with you.
Okay.
And that is a phrase that I use with my daughter all the time. Done is better than perfect, because she's very much a perfectionist mindset as well. Great.
So Elena says nurturing myself, Elaine's more self-care. Phoebe reminds us, everybody, that on Thursday we are going to be working with WBI faculty Lori Tunomen. She's going to have to tell me how to pronounce her name. Ways to be A through Z. So we'll be having this discussion. We'll be talking about it more. I'm excited to hear what she has to say. And of course, growth mindset comes from Dr. Carol Dweck's work and Stanford University. Then we have, and there's a wonderful article that Phoebe has put in the chat too about coping strategies using prospection. Seligman's idea of future-mindedness, seeing your future and strategizing as to how you're going to get there. I think that's also really helpful too, right? Lisa, you said please, I didn't finish that, so if you want to finish that. Also, Nancy says, as a recovering perfectionist, focusing on empowering positivity. Thank you, Nancy, that's great. For killing time, okay. Thanks for a wonderful afternoon. Going to WBI at Reset. Oh, great. ShawnFink.com, just so if everybody knows how to stay in touch. Reflect and focus on the strengths in my family and start there. Adrienne, look for ways to promote positivity more often in myself and in my family using gratitude and strength spotting and growth mindset. I can sometimes get caught up in the moment and old patterns and I forget. these are great reminders. And then also this idea of, with 1 minute left, of how when we are afraid, right, and we go into fight or flight or freeze, and how that inhibits us from self-care, and then doing that self-nurturing practice to get us back into our parasympathetic nervous system, back into our heart, using that pause to do so. Shawn, would you say that that's kind of a crucial, almost daily practice if we listen to the news, if we're concerned about the election, if we're concerned about climate change, if we're concerned, right? You know what I'm talking about? I mean, it's
yeah. I am a highly sensitive empath. So I'm actually right now getting ready to launch a small group coaching program called the Energy Boost that is all around protecting our energy, you know, building our positive energy, and then also, you know, kind of keeping our negative energy at bay, because yeah, I mean, it's easy to get really derailed, and it begins, the work of the Energy Boost begins with that mothering self piece, that tending to what we need, listening to ourselves, and feeling, right? Like feeling that energy and knowing when, okay, whoops, I'm getting too involved, right? Time to pull back. Yeah, so that's something that I'm really passionate about.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much. My father used to tell me that everyone has a light inside, and that it's our responsibility to keep that light shining. And to me, that's my connection to resilience and to what you're saying. And when we see, he would say, when we see that there's something that's affecting our light, then we need to take a step back and moderate. So a little hands up for those dads out there that are also part of this equation, and help so much in our resilience, you know?
Absolutely, yes.
Final words to take us home? Anything that you want to say?
You know, just I hope that the message is that we have more power than we think over our lives and how we feel and how we show up under stress, and that, you know, there are things that we can do with our kids to help prepare them for whatever is to come, because, you know, yeah, 2020 is hard, but maybe other years will be harder, and we need to get them ready and give them these skills.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Shawn. It's been a
Thank
pleasure
you so
talking with
much.
you. Thank you, everyone. Take care, and we will see you on Thursday.
Thank you.
Bye.